Welcome everybody to the War and Peace Baseball Podcast. I'm here today with Alex Rudy and I'm Alex Uwe. It's just the two of us and we are going to be starting off a brand new series that we are going to start up here. It's going to be called the Position Series, and as it sounds, we are going to go through each position in baseball, kind of go through the state of the position, the top players, the top young prospects, and of course our very own trademarked Hall of Very Good, which is, as it sounds, like the Hall of Fame, but obviously not as noteworthy. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I should let everybody know that you did coin the term Hall of Very Good.
It is mine.
I mean, among our friend circle, I'm sure other people have thought of it, but as far as we know, you invented it, so we'll stick with that.
Send me the licensing fees.
All right, we'll do that. Let's go ahead and start off with starting pitching because,
Yes.
you know, as it is listed on a lineup card, the position number 1 is pitcher. So, right now, it is the age of pitching. Is that fair to say?
I would say yes.
It is also the age of home runs this year, but we'll get into that another time. We will start off with, you know, some of the legendary pitchers of our time with the great Clayton Kershaw and Madison Bumgarner, Jake Arrieta, those types of pitchers, but we'll also get into a little bit more of the deeper top 20 mix that we'll see throughout baseball. So, let's start with, you know, keep it simple, your top 5 pitchers. Who do you have as your top 5 pitchers in baseball?
Kershaw, Bumgarner, Scherzer, Strasburg, Fernandez. Oh, shoot. Never mind. I forgot Arrieta. So, Kershaw, Gardner, Fernandez. And then, like, Arrieta's... I can't do a top 5. I'm sorry. It's impossible. I think there's a distinct level of Kershaw, Bumgarner, Scherzer, Strasburg, Arrieta, Fernandez. And I think that's...
So the top tier is like 6 players? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a top 6. I can't say
top 6. All right.
I'm sorry.
Close enough. If I had to leave one person off of that, it might be... Shoot. It's impossible. There's actually 7 players that I would argue. I don't... Is Bumgarner the second best pitcher in baseball in your mind?
I mean, I'll say this. If I just need one starter, just fucking the best starter of his life to win me the game, I would pick him over even Kershaw.
You would pick him over Kershaw?
I would, because Kershaw has not proved it yet that he can... And Kershaw is the greatest pitcher I've seen in my life pitch while I'm cognizant of reality. But Bumgarner, Kershaw's not proven that when, you know, push comes to shove on the line that he's the best pitcher. I think he has it in him. I think he will do that at some point in his career. But
last year he was good in the postseason.
He hasn't put a team on his back like Bumgarner has yet. So if I just need that one game, I would put Bumgarner. So I think that's why he's number 2. But I think Fernandez and Arrieta are impeccably close. And if you told me, no, I would rather have those 2 instead, I would say, okay, that's fair.
Well, we kind of put Bumgarner on this pedestal just after one world postseason performance that was utterly dominant. But,
right, but
I don't think...
But I think he's finally backing that up with a regular season of true incredible pitching standards. He was always a top starting pitcher in the regular season, but this year he's really reached that extra level, I think, of top 5, no doubt, starting pitching.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay, Bumgarner is truly one of the best competitors out there, and he had that track record. And then Kershaw, whatever misfortune that was, you know, the result of the postseasons he's pitched in the past, I do not blame that on lack of competitive nature, because Kershaw is as competitive a pitcher as anybody in baseball. So I think you put a healthy Clayton Kershaw, let's be clear, he's not pitching right now, and there's a lot of uncertainty about his back and whether he's going to need surgery and miss the year, which would be horrible for the Dodgers, obviously. Pretty much eliminate them from the playoff race altogether. But I would still have to take Kershaw over Bumgarner in a one game.
I never said I would.
No, in my one game, I still have to take Kershaw over Bumgarner.
I was just arguing it as a point to prove how I believe Bumgarner is the number 2.
Wait, so you just said you would take Bumgarner over Kershaw?
There is a difference between the pitcher that you take for an entire season and a pitcher you take for one start.
Yeah, I know. I still take Kershaw in the one game.
Okay, I'm just clarifying. I wasn't trying to prove that Bumgarner was better overall than Kershaw. That was the way I was explaining why I think Bumgarner's the second best pitcher in baseball.
Okay, that's fair. Let's talk about a little bit more of the deeper side, the rest of the top 20, so to speak. Or to even round out the top 10, you have names like Corey Kluber, Jacob deGrom, Johnny Cueto, Danny Salazar. Those names, Cole Hamels, Chris Sale. Obviously, we haven't mentioned him. He's in that mix. These guys are going to round out your top 10. And the top 10 is a very, very exclusive club of starting pitchers. And the last few spots of that rotate pretty regularly, I would think. But, some of the names like Kluber and deGrom are those kind of guys where when they're on, they're every bit as good as guys like Kershaw and Scherzer and Bumgarner. Is that fair to say? Because they're just not as consistent, but they are every bit as dominant when they're good.
I would maybe not as every bit, but as close
stuff-wise. I'm
as
thinking
close,
more
as
stuff-wise.
close as you can be. Yes, I would say.
Yeah.
Consistency is their biggest, is what separates them from being top 7 pitchers, I think. Is that the point you're trying to make? I don't know, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because Corey Kluber, stuff-wise, is possibly a top 5 pitcher, because his breaking ball is one of the best in the game.
But at the same time, his consistency is kind of disappointing for a pitcher.
It is really disappointing. He won a Cy Young. That is best case scenario. We've seen it. He's done it. And now we just kind of have to see these stretches of, the dominant Corey Kluber, and you see the stretches of giving up 3-4 runs a game, Corey Kluber, not getting out of the 6th inning sometimes, like that kind of stuff. I think deGrom's put any speculation on his decline early in the season. Not decline. He was roughed up early in the season, and now he's back to what everybody thought he'd be. He's the ace of that staff. Syndergaard's there too, but deGrom is still he hasn't done anything wrong since then. So I think the playoffs are still probably going to go deGrom and Syndergaard, right? In the playoffs for the Mets?
I think deGrom kind of seniority, and I don't think the difference between them is enough to make that not the deciding factor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we can kind of start talking about the Mets have one of the best rotations in baseball.
Yeah.
Seeing them in the postseason would be deGrom, Syndergaard, and then who do you go with next? It's you go with Harvey's obviously gone for the season. You do still have the big sexy Bartolo Colon. I don't know, is he going to start in the postseason for them?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I would say
you have Steven Matz, who
I would say
Matz
is a better chance of starting in a game, but I actually don't. As amazing as it sounds, I might trust. If you need just that quality start, 6 innings of 3 or less run ball to stay in the game, Bartolo might be more dependable in the playoffs, to be completely honest, than Matz. Matz, he's better, but is he so much better to overcome the intangibles that Bartolo has the advantage of? I don't know.
I love that, the intangibles.
But he does. He does. He's cold. He's cold-blooded. To be honest, he really is. I know it's hilarious because he's a big, fat, ugly.
Well, his blood is gravy, so I guess it's pretty warm.
Who just grooves fastballs down the middle, and somehow pitches amazing. But there comes a point where you just have, Bartolo. I would just trust Bartolo more. Is that probably illogical a little bit? I guess so, but I mean, what is Matt's isn't exactly Matt's having a great season for a young pitcher, but he's not exactly having this lights out season of Syndergaard and DeGrom, where his lack of experience is overcome by pure ability. And at the same extent, is that fair, or is that?
It is fair, and he is laboring a little bit more. Like, obviously, the whole bone spurs thing, his are a little more severe than Syndergaard's, but with the medication and stuff that you take to suppress that on your day-to-day basis for your starts throughout the year, I think Matt's it has that extra pressure to perform when everybody is kind of watching his every move to see if he's okay, and that's not good for him. He can't just go out and pitch because he can pitch. He's a great pitcher, but he has to prove it all over again. Like, people don't accept that he is the same pitcher with this type of injury. People kind of assume that there's regression for him, and I can kind of see why, because there could be that one start here and there where he doesn't have that same comfort level, but I don't think that's fair to isolate him as, this injury is going to hinder him the rest of the season. He's not valuable. He is valuable. And I think the Mets are really just they're going to start him. They're going to start him in the postseason. I don't know. I feel like they're going to be careful with him, though. So that's my only issue there. We kind of rambled on about Mets pitching a lot. And let's talk about some of the other top rotations. The Indians, the Cubs, the Nationals, the Giants. I think that would round out the top five, those five teams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Giants a little bit borderline.
Yeah, I would say so. The Nationals rotation is really, really good. I think that ranks up against... I think that's probably the best rotation. Period.
Is there rotation? Scherzer, Strasburg, Gio, what's his name? Who are the other two guys in the rotation?
Right now they have who do they have starting right now? Good organizational skills. Well, Lucas Giolito is not starting right now. And they were kind of tinkering with that last spot since Joe Ross has been out.
Okay, but they have another guy. Their forward's pretty good. I can't think of his name though off the top of my head.
Yeah, shoot, neither can I. Working on it.
Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Give it a go.
I'm giving it the search right now, but I'm taking a long time.
I think the Indians is definitely. I think the Cubs. The Cubs have Arrieta, Lackey, Lester, and who are their other two guys?
They have Kyle Hendricks, who's having a weirdly dominant season,
and
Jason Hamill.
I think the best way to compare this is maybe in terms of playoffs, and I think, in my opinion, the team with the best playoff staff is the Nationals, because I think Scherzer and Strasburg is a ridiculous duo to have. I mean, I think only the Giants can compare in duos. The Bumgarner Cueto being also a pretty much unhittable duo. Now the Cubs and the Indians might be better 1 through 5, but I think honestly the Nationals and the Giants I think the Cubs Arrieta is really their only top 20 pitcher in my opinion. I think
John Lester is
in the discussion, but to be honest,
he's there.
That he is, but he's
not Steven Strasburg as your number 2.
Yeah, and that game was that stolen base thing is embarrassing. I saw that. I think against the Brewers, they stole like 4 bases on him in like 1 inning. Like that's fucking embarrassing. I mean, I can pick off the first base and second base. And if I was in a playoff game, I would have fucking run the shit all over him if I can get on base with anyone. If that's how horrible he is, that's a dangerous weakness. And I know he's had a very good playoffs before, but I could see, a team playing against him just totally don't. I mean, I know it's a small aspect, but you could totally take advantage of that and change the game.
Yeah. By the
And
way, my apologies to Mr. Tanner Roark for not mentioning him in the
exactly,
Nationals rotation.
very solid, dependable pitcher. And then the Indians, I think, just the issue is that the guys are kind of explosive. Like they're explosive. Like they have a lot of highs and lows. They're like great stuff pitchers, and in the playoffs, those guys sometimes get blown up a little bit.
They get blown?
Yeah, and then I think the Mets also don't really have the depth anymore with the lack of. They still have an amazing pitching staff, top five, but they don't have the. Even though Harvey was having maybe a mediocre season for him, I think it really changes their playoff depth quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Mets are not the same team that we saw going into the season in most aspects of their game. But we'll talk about the whole construct of their team another time. But I think we basically covered that having two dominant pitchers at the top of your rotation is the best way to calculate playoff success, to have the odds stacked in your favor, because you can have one, if not both of them, start twice in a series if you really wanted to. And that's in the division series, that can be, 3 out of 5 games pitched by your two dominant pitchers. In a 7-game series, you get 4 starts out of them. That's all you need. That's a winning formula.
I would agree with you 100% on that.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to a little bit more, I guess, controversial. Not controversial. They're a little more uncertain pitchers. Let's talk about some of the younger pitchers. We'll start with some of the more dominating ones right now, which are Aaron Sanchez and Michael Fulmer. These two are on another tier in terms of young pitchers right now. They're the top tier. Because, Noah Syndergaard is a young pitcher, but I don't know why, he is in the top pitchers right now tier. These other two guys are really making a name for themselves for the first time this season, as we speak. And they're not falling off the table like people kind of thought they would. You always expect them to see regression, and it just hasn't hit them yet. Michael Fulmer had that amazing scoreless streak. Sanchez is, he's first in some pitching categories in the major leagues right now. So what do you think about those two guys long term? Where do you see them with their ceilings, like, going forward?
I mean, they're already so good right now, so it's hard to really imagine them even getting better, I guess, which is just is a testament to how incredible they've been this year. And, I mean, I think Sanchez is really a surprise, to be honest, this year, because he had some major consistency issues last year. And he's always had great stuff, but a lot of people pegged him as a reliever, and I think he's just been...
what is
sorry.
Holy shit.
It's pretty insane. Sorry, but I think... I mean, where do you think the improvement is with these two guys? I mean, they're already so polished.
Yeah, well, for both of them, it's durability, because we have to see how they perform down the stretch of a long season. And Aaron Sanchez is not built to be a starter. He's going to be pitching in the bullpen in September, and I don't think that's going to change no matter how well he's pitched, because they want to protect his arm.
That's not a long-term decision.
It's not, but that's what's going to change, and it's going to be the durability. They are going to become more durable. They are going to become hopefully more efficient in their pitching. Fulmer's already amazed me at how well he can go deep into games, but I think it's going to come a little bit more easily for him. He's a very max effort guy. That's his thing. He jumps right at you with everything he has, and I think he's going to learn how to put up the kind of numbers he is right now, which are insane low 2 ERA type numbers, but kind of learn how to have that more streamlined delivery and more less, not max effort. He's going to be able to maintain like a steady delivery a little more easily, learn how to pitch more efficiently to hitters than, the fastball wipeout curveball combination. And he's developed a changeup this year for the first time. He's going to get better with that too. Things like that, little nuanced things that can help them with their games, but as you mentioned, completely polished already. Let's talk about some of the more, middle of the road type guys that were top prospects but are really kind of struggling right now. We'll talk about Vince Velasquez and Aaron Nola of the Phillies first, because those are two names that are at sometimes considered some of the best young pitchers in all of baseball, and like more recently, quite the opposite. They've been pretty bad. They've been awful. So, I mean, I don't know what to believe about them going forward, because they really haven't shown any kind of consistency. And consistency is going to come, but what level of consistency are they going to have? Are they going to be high 3 ERA pitchers, or are they going to be 2.5 or like 2.5 to 3 ERA pitchers with Ks per 9 over 1 per inning? That's the real question, is where are they going to land?
Are you asking?
Yeah, I mean, where just generally, where do you think they're going to land? What do you see in these pitchers?
I mean, I think, for me, this is like the biggest question mark with young pitching today is how do you escape injuries? Because natural progression should say that all these guys should just continuously progress and progress and progress. And though I don't know if any of them none of them have Kershaw potential in my mind, that I think they all could be, year after year number twos bearing injuries. So I think it's really hard. I think starting pitching is probably the most. I know I'm not really answering the question, but I think, to be completely honest, it's the hardest thing to predict in baseball, in my opinion, for the future. So do you have a clear answer that you think you have in your mind to that, I guess?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can only speculate. That's all we can do. And, I personally have watched both of them, and everybody's going to see something different in these pitchers. And obviously, you can't have a formula to say, okay, well, he is throwing like this year, so next year he's going to be this, and the year after he's going to be this. There's just no telling, and obviously injuries are a big part of it too. The only thing you can go off of is what you see, and if you see elements of their game, see certain pitches that, with slight improvement could, completely change their game, then you can see more. Velasquez is a power pitcher. He uses his fastball and curveball above all else. He attacks the strike zone. He's not the kind of guy to dot the corners and uses off-speed pitches at a way higher percentage like Aaron Nola does. So they're very different types of pitchers, but it's hard to find success being a pitcher like Aaron Nola, because you have to be perfect. And he's been as close to perfect as possible when he was on fire. And, you can't really tell how much more the stuff is going to develop. But as of right now, I see very hittable stuff from Aaron Nola, and I don't see the poise from Vince Velasquez to have consistent dominance.
I think those are excellent takes on their pitching. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about Pirates pitchers now. Tyler Glasnow and Jameson Taillon, who are some of the most up and down pitchers. Both of them have dealt with injuries in the last 2 months, so not ideal for either of their development, but both of them are more power type pitchers that have way higher upside, I think, than either Velasquez or Nola.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Taillon's biggest qualm right now, without a doubt, is just health. And he's really been plagued by poor health He had Tommy John already in his young career. He took a really long time for a top prospect to debut, and he maintained the hype, which is impressive, to be completely honest, because I would say the average pitcher, the average top guy who took, I think he took like 5 years, which in this day and age of super prospects just speeding through the minors is a long time, even though there's nothing wrong with that approach at all. So I think, to me, he just needs to stay healthy. If that means innings limits and, watching, the pitch counts very carefully, if that's necessary, that's necessary. It's the way to go. You have to be, we want to be impatient and we want these guys to be dominant instantly. He's a guy, I think, on this list that, without a doubt, is weirdly the guy you have to be most patient with, even though he's, I think, one of the oldest ones and has a lot of experience at a professional level. And I think with Glasnow, I think the one thing that's kind of underrated with these young pitchers is developing the arsenal. And when you look at really the top guys, the top of the top of the top, I think the guys who are most year and year consistent, dependable, the guys who have expanded repertoires where they can turn to the breaking ball as their dominant go-to pitch. So I think, and not just for Glasnow, for really any of these guys, it's important to stick. You may be a guy who's reliant on that dominant power fastball, but in my opinion, the majority of the guys who have the long careers that are dominant, the key to that success, that secret ingredient is a
changeup.
It's a changeup, or it's a curve, or it's a slider. Like, consistently either strike guys out at a very high rate, or you throw for a strike that's difficult to hit. And I think that's kind of a thing that you don't hear maybe discussed enough. Is that if you really want to be the next level, generational, team foundational piece, you can't just be a guy who has that, high 90s dominant fastball. As amazing that is, that's a great starting point. But what separates the good from the great is the off speed.
Yeah, I would have to agree completely there. And for both of these guys, I can't make a fair assessment of a pitcher when they're not pitching at their full strength, because that is the baseline for me. I haven't seen their true baseline. Taillon showed like flashes of it, a couple starts where he was like, feeling really good, and that's what I think you will see more of from Taillon. But Glasnow, we just haven't seen him in a good groove yet, and that's yet to come. So really quick, obviously a couple of the top prospects that are soon to graduate off the list in Julio Urias and Luis Giolito. They both had a taste, and they both really, did not wow in any way. Urias kind of got roughed up a bit, but did show promising starts in the middle of that stint he had, and he's back now because of injuries. Giolito's down, and he was not sharp, and that's the fact. He's going to be able to give that another go in September, I'm sure, but I know you have to hope for the best of the top prospects. Also, Jose Berrios was very roughed up in his first stint, so we'll see how that goes. Another really interesting one that I just want to touch on really quickly is Carlos Rodon, who was, everybody was sure he was going to be, the next Chris Sale or something of that nature. He was the dominant pitcher who was going to pitch out of the bullpen and then work his way into the rotation, dominant slider, and it just hasn't happened. And we're not sure if it's going to happen at all, but the stuff is still there. He just cannot do anything with it. He has no idea what he's doing when he's on the mound.
I think
that's sad.
I think he's a great example of a guy who's rushed the majors out of college, and the expectation was, okay, he's so good, he's just going to figure it out. He really was not nurtured particularly, and I think that's really starting to show up. And I think, while in theory there's nothing wrong with just having a guy pitch a ton in the major very young with very little experience and just let him figure it out, I think theoretically that could work, but at least in his case, it seems to be that whether it's a confidence issue or he can't, he can't really make his stuff as crisp as he wants to because he's dealing with these major league hitters. It seems to not have worked, and it's really a strategy that you don't see very often anymore, to be completely honest. I would say more often than not, pitchers are very nurtured to an extreme level of detail and not just thrown to the fire as much as the least position players. And I think, I think to be fair to the White Sox, everyone thought that this strategy was going to work fine with him because he seems so polished and so mature and ready. But it's this is his second. I don't know if he's pitched a full technical season yet as a starting pitcher. You're getting to the point where you might have to be a little bit concerned that he's not really
developing.
Progressed, I guess, from what he started. And he's still young, still early, but, and Quintana took a very long time, too, to reach the level that everyone thought he should be at, to be fair. And, Sale kind of had a weird, more unorthodox path as well to his current level. But, Rodon is not, the surefire bet that I think we expected.
Yeah, and, the next White Sox bullpen project is Michael Fulmer, and he was drafted last year. So we're still seeing it. They're still going for it. They're still trying it. We'll see if they can get another Chris Sale out of it, but as of right now, it doesn't look like it. So I think we touched on most of the young pitching that we wanted to. Obviously, there's more names out there that, will be relevant the rest of the year and going forward. So keep an eye out for some of the young pitchers popping up all over Major League Baseball. We will go ahead and talk about our very own Hall of Very Good now, though, and that will kind of round up the players that have already had the resumes to either possibly make a case for the Hall of Fame, or pitchers that, are not Hall of Famers, but really deserve recognition as some of the better pitchers in this era, in the last 10 to 15 years. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the first higher level pitchers that have a Hall of Fame case, which I would say are CC Sabathia, Justin Verlander, Adam Wainwright, Felix Hernandez, and those are the main ones that really, as of right now, have a Hall of Fame case, I would say.
I think right? All these guys we're going to discuss do, because that's kind of the whole point of the list.
Well, okay, there's some of these other guys that we
I would agree with you. Those are probably the closest. Yes.
So do you give all of 4 of these guys a yes into the Hall of Fame if they were to retire right now?
I'd like to go. I mean, CC might be the closest, one of those borderline guys I've ever seen in just the history of sports since I've followed it closely. 6-time All-Star, won World Series, ALCS MVP, Cy Young winner, 2-time MLB wins leader. He's gonna have 230 wins probably by the end of this. No, 225 wins by the end of the season. And 2,700 strikeouts. That's a insane. That's quite the resume. I personally am gonna say yes because he's one of the better workhorses I've seen in my lifetime. But I will say his ERA is really weak for a Hall of Fame level pitcher.
Yeah, it is.
And he hasn't been extremely good in quite a while.
Well, I think there's something to be said for being dominant in your prime. He was that pitcher in his prime. He was at that, he was the pitcher in his prime where you ask, does he have a legitimate shot at the Hall of Fame? And I'm sure people were asking that when he was pitching in his prime. And if that was ever asked at any point in your career, and you're still around, 7 years after that was asked of him, then I think that he has a very good chance because he has put together those counting numbers and he has had that dominant period in his career, which is very important for a Hall of Famer, I think.
Yeah, my only issue, I think, is he only clips 200 strikeouts 3 times. And only, like, that's so poor, but he only had a full season with an ERA under 3 once. That's see, like and I love him. Like I'm a Yankees fan, so like I mean, CC's my man. But when he's a guy where it's like, it really depends on what pair of glasses you put on to read his numbers with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
I think he's a very polarizing statistical guy, in the sense that he excels he's guaranteed Hall of Fame in some stats, and he's really not Hall of Fame in others, and that's why he's in this discussion, because it's just hard to know, what stats do we value more than others? And I think, that makes him fascinating. But I think historically, he has enough to get in at some point. I guess is the other way to look at it.
Yeah. Also, Clayton Kershaw is a name that I did not mention, but I have him as a lock for a Hall of Fame already.
If he never pitched another pitch in his entire career, he would go in first ballot.
So let's talk about a guy who was the dominant pitcher in baseball before Clayton Kershaw, and that is Justin Verlander. Like this is more recent and more vividly in my mind how he was perceived in baseball. Like he was the face of pitching in baseball for a few years.
I think he has to go in. And I originally put him on this list because of how I've perceived him recently, but that was not doing him justice. And I'm looking at, just his basic credentials right now. AL MVP, AL Cy Young, 6-time All-Star, pitching Triple Crown, AL Rookie of the Year, 2 times MLB wins leader, 2-time MLB wins leader, AL ERA leader, 3-time MLB strikeout leader, 2 no-hitters. And to be fair, that's almost all really because there was 1 year in 2011 where he was disgusting. So you could make the case that, his career's credentials are kind of based around 1 year primarily, which is a fair criticism. I think that's why he's not just a lock.
Well, his career's not as long as Sabathia. The counting numbers aren't there. But I look at what he's doing right now, too.
His year in 2011 is probably one of the best pitching seasons of the past 15 years, at least.
Yeah, that's like
24-5, 250 strikeouts, a WHIP of 0.92, 2.4 ERA, 8.3 wins above replacements, 251 innings pitched.
That's some Pedro Martinez stuff right there.
That's a Pedro Martinez season. And you go into the Hall of Fame for one season? No, absolutely not. But from 2009 to 2013, he was probably the best pitcher in baseball. And that's 4 years. And if you're the best pitcher in baseball for 4 years, that should probably be enough to go in the Hall of Fame. Is that too much? Is that too much?
No, that's perfect. And I think you look at what he's doing now. He's shown that he's not done. He's gonna have enough
He's had a great comeback
in the tank to continue to be effective for years to come. He's 33 years old. He's not an old man. Like
I'm gonna say he did a great job kind of reinventing himself a little bit after a horrible 2014. The past 2 seasons, while he's definitely not an ace anymore, I think that's really going to help his Hall of Fame credentials for sure.
Yeah, I remember
based on he's become a dependable workhorse. And CeCe, to be honest, kind of did a similar thing. Now he's kind of collapsed from injuries and age, but that's a similar thing that he did to try to keep relevant after he kind of lost fastball velocity, and that's what really makes you a generational talent.
Yeah,
as well.
And I remember in the prime of his career, watching him pitch, watching the breakdowns and things like that. Justin Verlander would start games throwing 92 miles an hour and just shut everybody down. As people say, knowing how to pitch, like using all his pitches to be effective in the strike zone, getting a lot of efficient outs and things like that. And then after the 6th inning, that's when the 97 to 100 mile an hour fastball would emerge, and he would just dominate the rest of the game. So he had that kind of mentality that he was his own closer, and there was evidence, like you would watch, and he would throw 92 mile an hour fastballs early in the game. In a couple big situations, if he needed it, he'd rear back for 100 and get that. But it was amazing. He was incredibly smart in how he went about attacking every game, and that was what made him dominant through that capacity of innings. We'll talk about Adam Wainwright. I don't think he's as much of a lock right now, but he's close too. Like, he just doesn't have the counting numbers for me, but he's really good.
He's really good. That's why he's in the Hall of Very Good. He is well, I'd say the other two guys were more like more Hall of Famers than Hall of Very Good. I would say he's more Hall of Very Good than Hall of Famer.
I would say so too.
He doesn't have the wins.
He doesn't have a Cy Young award.
He doesn't have a Cy Young. He doesn't have that many awards. He's great. He's one of my favorite pitchers I've ever seen. Just kind of seems like a jolly guy. You could just depend on him. Year after year, he was part of some of the great Cardinals teams, but he's just missing that extra year that you need to be a true all-time great. And while he had some great seasons too. I mean, between 2008 and 2014, there's really few guys in the major leagues who were any better than him. But he kind of missed out on some high wins and high strikeout seasons. He never really had those. He just misses the counting numbers, which is a shame because his ERA and WHIP are probably Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And one more guy who I think is in the Hall of Fame is Felix Hernandez, who is the best pitcher in Seattle Mariners history. Is that fair to say?
I think you lagged out there.
Oh,
for me. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I just said that Felix Hernandez is the best pitcher in Seattle Mariners history.
Yes.
And I think he's a lock.
I would say, too. I think he's a guy who got really unlucky for being on horrible teams. So, but I think that's actually going to help him for the Hall of Fame because he gets like a benefit of a doubt for some of his stats because of that, which is kind of weird.
Well, for the win column anyway.
That's important. It's a big column.
It is.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
It shouldn't be, but it does matter. And I think he's kind of gets a. It helps him in a weird way because people are gonna be like, oh, he's so well respected and touted, and people are gonna give him kind of maybe an extra wiggle room because he was on horrible teams for the vast majority of his career, and that maybe helps the areas like wins where he's lacking. But he's truly at his peak one of the most dominant pitchers maybe of all time.
Yeah, and he has won Cy Young on his resume, but the year Kluber won, he was every bit as good as Kluber, and I thought for sure he was going to win that year, and he did not. And I remember that controversy, and that was really really shocking to not give it to one of the best pitchers for the last 7 years. I guess it's fair, but
he's only 30 years old, and he already has 2,200 strikeouts.
Yeah, and the fact that he's far from done is amazing.
That's incredible. He could realistically get 3,000 career strikeouts, and when you get that, you're a lock. One of the 3,000 hits, 2,000 strikeouts, 500 home runs. That you're pretty
those
much
thresholds. Yeah. Okay. We'll run through a few other names here that we have in the Hall of Very Good category, and I want you to give me a yes or no as I list these names. Zack Greinke for the Hall of Very Good.
Oh, in the Hall of Very Good, yes, but not in the Hall of Fame.
No, we're done with the Hall of Fame caliber pitchers, I think.
Okay.
So Zack Greinke in your Hall of Very Good.
Yeah, he won a Cy Young.
Are you gonna give any pitcher who's won a Cy Young the Hall of Very Good go ahead, green light, pretty much?
Unless they were horrendous for the rest of their career. Tim Lincecum is probably the baseline because he had a peak that was disgusting and is horrible after that peak, which is why he will never make the Hall of Fame. And that's why we have him in the Hall of Very Good, is for those guys who either had very long careers like Wainwright, where they were great but never dominant, or guys like Lincecum who were dominant for short periods of time but never not never great for long periods of time. I think, it's made for him. The only guy I think I'm just gonna go back to 2000 in terms of Cy Youngs, and the guys I think who would have no chance of making the Hall very good, who won a Cy Young in that time, are Dickey, Brandon Webb, Eric Gagne, Barry Zito, and maybe Cliff Lee, depending on your opinion of him.
You don't think Gagne even for like relief pitching?
Actually, Cliff Lee's probably.
Cliff Lee's in there for me.
Hall very good, so I take that back. But yeah, Gagne cheated, so no.
Oh, well.
He cheated when it was, I think, illegal to cheat. Maybe I could be wrong. Eric Gagne, though. Yeah, you're probably right. Eric Gagne should be in the Hall of Very Good for relief pitchers. You got me there because his dominance was sheer dominance.
I mean, for a Cy Young winner, then maybe that's a little bit
you're
out
right.
there.
Okay, you're right. But Dickey,
not
Brandon
starting
Webb,
pitcher.
Barry Zito, Dickey, Brandon Webb, really don't have enough of a pedigree. Chris Carpenter is also kind of that borderline guy.
Yeah, I think he's in there.
So
his
yeah,
postseason notoriety is very good. So
I'm
gonna list off a few other names that I think we can both agree are safely in the Hall of Very Good. So, like Max Scherzer, Madison Bumgarner as of right now, Bartolo Colon, Cole Hamels, James Shields. The two others that are kind of iffy are Jared Weaver and Jake Peavy, both pitching right now and not well.
I think Bumgarner is going to make the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I'm saying right now he's a lock for the Hall of Very Good. There's no way to predict if he's a Hall of Fame guy. He's 26 years old.
People love rings, though.
Rings are pretty fancy, so. So back to Jared Weaver and Jake Peavy. Do they make the cut?
Jared Weaver, no, in my opinion, I'm sorry to all Angel fans for both would be disappointed. Good thing you can have him on for this one, or he'd probably
throw a tantrum.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just no. Really, I don't know if he's ever really a top 5 pitcher for maybe more than like a season.
But here, you want to know something though?
Yeah, I do.
Looking at his career stat lines, they are very similar to that of some of these other Hall of Very Good pitchers. He has 146 wins. He has 3.51 ERA, 1.18 WHIP, over 1,500 strikeouts, almost 2,000 innings pitched. But those numbers are not that far off from some of these other guys.
Yeah, but he was dominant for a really, really short amount of time.
Yeah, that's why he's nowhere near the Hall of Fame discussion, and he's barely in the Hall of Very Good discussion. It's
also Peavy's gigantic issue, where, okay, yes, he was insane between 2005, really, and 2008. He was incredible, but, like, he's horrible since then. I mean, he's really bad, to be completely honest. Like, there's this difference between okay and, like, really bad. And yes, he's had a few years sprinkled in. 2012 was decent. But pretty much he was never the same. He basically had 4, like, above average seasons. And even though one of them got him a Cy Young, that's just not enough to me.
So I'm looking at their numbers now, really, for the first time, and I think their counting numbers just kind of have to be enough. Jake Peavy has the Cy Young also, that is, very good on his resume. And his numbers are good. Like, his career numbers are really good. He has the same, he's like 1.19 WHIP, 3.6 ERA, 152 wins, like 2,200 strikeouts. Like, these are good numbers, and the longevity I think is an important part of the Hall of Very Good.
Okay, that's fair. I think James Shields is a no, though, to be completely honest.
Really?
I think he's definitely no. I'm looking at his stats right now. Career ERA of 3.79, 1.24 WHIP. He doesn't even have 2,000 strikeouts yet, and he's 34. And he's pitched 132 wins. And
the only reason I say he is is because
He's also.
I think he makes a case for being the best pitcher in Tampa Bay Rays history. David Price obviously is like really good. I don't like. It's really hard to say.
David Price is the best pitcher in Tampa Bay.
He is, but Shields is really close.
No, he's not really close. I think David Price is a different level of pitcher. Shields really only had maybe had 3 world-class seasons at best. I would say 2, to be honest. David Price has had 5?
Yeah, I mean with Tampa Bay, yeah, those.
David Price is actually a good guy.
He was really good.
Not that I thought about him.
Yeah, he is. I would say he is at this point. His season this year is really weird, but yeah, for sure. The counting numbers just aren't quite there, but I think he's like the way he's pacing right now, the where he is currently in ranks is enough.
Only gonna be 31.
Yeah, and he's still pitching at an elite level, so
he could be even a Hall of
Johnny
Fame
Cueto
pitcher.
too is also in my.
I think Price could even be a Hall of Fame pitcher, to be completely honest, if he.
Eventually, yeah.
But he would have to maintain. You'd have to maintain this pace for 5 years, so it would not be a guarantee. But
you can't have more. I don't think he can have another 4.51 ERA season like he is right now. So.
Yeah, that's hurting him quite a bit. Cole Hamels, I think, is a really interesting guy. John, maybe to wrap it up.
Because of wins, basically. He doesn't win.
He has no wins. He really
Until
is.
this year, where he's winning.
In 10 basically full pitching seasons, he only has 132 wins. That is he averages 12 a year. That's bad. I'm sorry, that's just bad. His average win-loss is 12 and 8.5. For a pitcher who's top 20 now, even at age 32, that's pretty disappointing. I mean, 42 strikeouts is solid. 1.15 WHIP, 3.29 ERA is solid. He was the best pitcher maybe on a World Series team. I don't even know if he really was. You could argue. I think who else was on that team? Was that the team that Halladay was on, or was Lee on that team? Or was neither of them on the team?
It was. I think which one? The 2008 one.
The 2008 one, yeah.
I think. I have zero idea. I do see what you're saying with the wins. It does not bother me though. It just doesn't.
But he was on good teams.
He was, but it still just doesn't do it for me.
I mean, wins is the most overrated stat. You're right, but I mean, Jesus, that's pretty.
It's still 132 wins. It's not like he's never winning. He's winning now. He's on a better team.
What the point I was trying to make is that he's definitely not Hall of Fame. Which is really what I was trying to say.
No.
He's Hall of Fame though, most likely. That's totally fair. I think 2009 when they lost to the Yankees, I think Cliff Lee was a better pitcher than him, and he's definitely Hall of very good. I mean, he's one of the more bizarre careers in history.
Yeah, seriously.
He's probably a Hall of very. He's kind of the Tim Lincecum light, where not really the best. He was very good. It was either he was 2 stretches of bad. The beginning and end of his career.
It's so complicated.
Bad, but the middle was insane.
Yeah,
and
he was really good.
Yeah.
And Hamels was the best pitcher on the 2008 team. So,
okay.
There you go. I think that is going to wrap it up, though, for us. We talked a lot of pitching. Probably more pitching than I've ever talked in however long an interval this was. So, thank you all for joining us today on the first edition of the Position Series. We'll talk about relief pitchers in our next one, I guess. That seems like the natural progression, so be on the lookout for that. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and leave us feedback there at WPB_podcast. You can check out our website. The link for that is down below. Gmail is warandpeacebaseball@gmail.com. Please, feedback is very much appreciated. Let us know what you think about starting pitchers and did we have everything right or did we screw up a lot, because I'm sure we did. So anyways, that is going to do it for today. Since Farbode is not here, as always, Rudy.
Peace.